Now I'm reviewing Batman, Mask of the Phantasm. It's definitely a movie.
Even though you never call and never write, I still got a soft spot for you.
The plot in this movie is that it takes place in the same universe as Batman from the animated series, and a new masked villain known as the Phantasm is going around killing mobsters. And Batman's trying to figure out who it is. Meanwhile, a woman from Bruce Wayne's past shows up, who used to be one of his romantic partners, but she... What?
Pardon, Master Bruce, but we may want to postpone the shop talk, as it were.
And Bruce and her start hitting it off again, and he thinks she might be the one, and then the Joker shows up.
Don't know when to quit, do you?
Because they see Batman after one of the crimes, so the media immediately starts blaming Batman and saying he's responsible for the killings. And the Joker shows up to see if that's the case. If Batman really did start killing people.
You know, I've been reading lately how old Guano Man is wound tight enough to snap. Wouldn't it be great if I'd finally driven him off the deep end?
That's the plot, essentially. A pattern I noticed last time I was going through all these movies is that it seems that every animated Batman movie seems to think it needs to be a noir mystery.
Isn't Hazel here a cutie? True, she's a real homebody, but you can't help who you fall in love with. Ooh.
But there always has to be some mystery going on, and usually with lots of noir motifs. And every animated movie with Batman seems to think it has to be that. Even Lego Batman Beleaguered had a mystery in it, so... I don't know. It wasn't a very good mystery. But neither was this one.
What are you, a comedian? This is the Batman we're talking about here.
I rated this really poorly last time. I really didn't like this movie last time. This time I liked it more. I wouldn't say it's great or anything, but it's not bad. It's right in the middle. Kind of mediocre. Some parts are really good, though. I think one of the issues is that it's meant to fit in with the animated series. So if you're watching a bunch of the animated series and then you watch this movie once you finish that or something, or whenever this movie came out, probably in the middle of it, then I'm sure it fits right in with that style and that feeling of the animated series. And it's good in that regard. It fits right in with that, I think. It's still not as good as most other Batman animated films.
Bruce, I'm talking to you.
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, Andy. My mind was on something else.
Like what?
Oh, just,
Well, I'll talk about everything I like first, because most of the things I don't like involve the spoiler, among other things. But it's just better if I do it this way. I like the PG-rated horror scenes. That's the way I saw them. It's just PG, they're not to show blood or even stabbing or anything.
Sal Valestro, your angel of death awaits.
Something out of a slasher movie and a children's cartoon, essentially. I felt the action throughout the movie was really good. Well, again, it fits in with the old animated series from the 90s.
Don't touch me, old man. I don't know where you've been.
Animated Batman, I feel, isn't dark enough to be a noir film, really. It's kind of out of place, almost, that it has this style to it. And I mean, the animated Batman wasn't bright and shiny or anything, but it wasn't this dark or this serious. That's one of the reasons I think the Joker comes in about halfway through, because they need a little more levity, And also, things get really slow before he comes in. The second act in this movie is, really slow and boring.
Last I meet the elusive Bruce Wayne.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Sir? Oh, don't be so formal, Bruce. Andrea's told me so much about you, I feel like we're practically family.
I feel like the parts with the Joker are definitely better than all the other parts of the movie. And unfortunately, he's only in it for the last half hour. It's only 75 minutes long, but that's still less than half the movie that's any good. I mean, there's some stuff in those early parts, the action I said was good. Oh, and there's a flashback where you see a younger version of Alfred, which I thought was kind of neat. I guess I'm getting into the bad stuff. Okay, I guess spoilers. I always put a spoiler sign at the beginning of the video, but in case you missed that, I'm about to spoil everything. So the solution is the mystery is that it's the woman that Batman is dating. I think her name's Andrea.
You figured it out.
Gotta hand it to you. Nice scheme. Costume's a bit theatrical, but hey, who am I to talk?
The problem with that is that it's an amazingly obvious solution. I mean, there's like literally no one else it could have been. I think the other reason they brought the Joker in about halfway through the film, or over halfway through the film, is so then there was someone else to suspect right then. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him or anything, but like it's just so obvious that it's her.
Andrea's father.
But there's really no one else for it to be. That's the thing that's like really disappointing about it, I guess. To set up a good mystery, you have to always have someone to be suspicious of. And like really good mysteries, like the person who it ends up being is like the last person you ever suspect. But here, it's like there's no one else to suspect at all. If there were, I feel like it would have been a lot less obvious. She felt like a side story that didn't have anything to do with the regular plot. But because there was no one else to suspect, it's gotta be her, you know?
Well, if it isn't Smokey the Babe, just in time to meet her biggest fan.
And also, like, another thing is that for that first 45 minutes, it was spending an awful lot of time concentrated on this relationship that Batman had with her. And this is just me, but I couldn't care less who Batman is dating, like, ever, except for Catwoman. It's the only relationship that really makes sense for him, but at the same time they're doomed to fail because she's never going to see the world the way he does, and vice versa. Diametrically opposed, unfortunately. But it's a more interesting relationship than any of his other relationships, which are just boring and just things that are just eating up time before he becomes Batman again, which is the only reason people watch him anyway. No one cares about Bruce Wayne's dating life, unless he's dating Catwoman. Everyone write that down.
Bruce?
So ultimately, I think it's just a movie that could have been a lot better. It's one of those movies that like you kind of just see moments when it could have been improved. And there's like so many boring parts, you know? It's hard to like really be even interested in the Batman stuff until Joker shows up. Joker like shows up and breathes life into this otherwise lifeless movie, which is unfortunate. I mean, it's fortunate he's there just because otherwise I'd say this movie wasn't worth watching at all. But until that happened, it was like just a total yawn fest. Just a sleep-inducing visual ambient.
Oh, don't mind my home security system. Down, Rusty.
Yeah, and it just could have been a lot better. That's like the unfortunate thing, you know? Final thoughts or anything else? I mean, this was the first animated movie, I think, like at all in the DC universe. And it actually did get a theatrical release. I think it wasn't a very wide one, but that's how popular the animated series of Batman was. I think people liked it at the time, but it didn't have a very wide release and then was rushed out on VHS. The thing of it is that any episode of the animated series is better than this movie.
I'm not saying it's right or even sane, but it's all I've got left. So either help me or get out of the way.
And that's another thing. It's like not how it should be. If you're making a movie out of a show, the movie should always be better, right? More exciting. The dramatic highs should be higher. The dramatic lows should be lower. Everything should be more instead of less, which is what this movie feels like. Like there's less characters than normal. There's less story, it feels like. There's less interest. And though the action's still pretty good, there's not enough for me to really care by the end of it. I did like the stuff with Joker, but that was basically it. It was like the big movie out of the show, and it feels like a bottle episode.
Well, tell your disappointment to suck it. I'm doing a bottle episode.
Guess that's it. Lock it in, and we're done. Bam.
Haven't you read the papers? It's Batman!
Wrong.